Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Brian?
Hey, Rosh, happy to be here. We are two creative guys talking AI. And, this week I had some fun playing with the newest update from Claude, Sonnet 4.5. I was pretty
Yeah,
impressed.
it
I
is
put a
impressive.
video up yesterday of kind of my first reactions and, got to the basis of our show, the Creative AI Show, and I use Sonnet for creativity. So I want to talk, is it more creative? And have a good
Yeah,
conversation with you about that.
good.
And then also, on the other side of it, MIT just released an article that showed that those of us using AI too much, we might be getting dumber. And
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. But more importantly, I want to talk to our audience about ways we can use these tools to maybe help push our creativity and push our brain power
Yeah,
and push back in the same way that, our bodies, we go to the gym to stay fit, right?
right,
Where 100 years ago, gyms didn't exist because you know what? There was a lot of freaking work to do outside.
right, right.
And that same thing's going to happen with our brains. And what are we going to do to stay up to date with that? So,
Nice.
want to
Good
dive
topic.
into that kind of sobering topic, if you will. And I'll throw it on back to you. What do you have going on?
Sure. Two things. Well, Sora 2 is out,
Hmm.
something we've been waiting for.
In the wild.
It's a competitor to 125 and VO3. So I've been exploring the different AIs and how they compare. And so I want to share some of my thoughts with you on that. And I also have been using AI as a bridge to bridge the gap and for people who really don't understand AI. But more importantly, I found a case study where someone was doing even better than the way I've done it.
Hmm.
And I want to share his experience and what he told me about what he's doing in his mechanics shop in his auto
Oh, I love it.
garage.
Yeah, that's
And
different.
yeah, I'm going to share. I'll keep it kind of anonymous because it was kind of a casual conversation, but I was so impressed by it. And then I'll share how I've done it and really some ideas that maybe you can take
Yeah.
moving forward for your entrepreneurial or creative business.
Right. Well, even if you're a DIYer like myself, I've used AI in all sorts of different ways just on my projects out in the yard and different things like that. So
Sure.
use cases are great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for
Oh, I
that.
like it.
All right, cool. Well, let's dive on in here. We have Claude. So a few months ago, Claude really won me over. So I was really getting tired of the outputs I'd get from ChatGPT. Obviously, on our YouTube channel, we're putting up videos every single day. We're testing all of these latest programs and all the latest engines for different things. And when it comes time to get new, fresh ideas, we're sometimes turning to our LLMs to
Yeah.
produce some outside of the box ideas or write some scenes or write some prompts for us. And ChatGPT was really hitting a wall whenever I was like, I need a creative idea, a random scene, and it's like, okay, a coffee shop, okay, a samurai, okay, a steampunk
Yeah.
scene. And it was
Right.
just going to like these same 3 to 5 ideas every time, where I'm like, come on, knock it off. I want you to be creative here. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe the issue isn't ChatGPT. Maybe I'm just not at the right engine. So you had talked for the longest time about how you love using Claude for writing and
Yep.
creativity. And, I went on over there and it was great. And Sonnet 4, which is free, it's been really, really good to me for months now. And I was really excited when they just dropped a few days ago here. Actually, it was at the end of September, so about a week ago when the show's published. They dropped Sonnet 4.5. And again, it's
Yes.
another free version. So they do have their Opus 2.1 where they give you about 3 outputs every 5 days for free, but then you got to pay for that one. So that's their higher pay version. Have you heard of
Okay.
that or used that before?
Yeah, no, I'm actually while you're talking, I'm kind of looking that up in terms of the
Hmm.
paid. I have the paid version
Oh, okay.
and I have Sonnet 2.5 as the default and it's
Four or
Opus
five, yeah.
4.1 that
Opus 4.1, yeah.
is the other one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I use that a little bit, but again, I'm on the free side of things with Sonnet, so I was really happy with the 4.5. And so I started with the random scene generator to kind of push it. And it did such a good job, not only getting scenes to be random in the sense of, just different ideas and constructs together, but then all of a sudden it went over the concept of time and like put yourself in the future. And, or it made a scene out of like a lava lamp where you are living in different worlds of globs where you have to travel from one glob to another in a psychedelic lava lamp kind of existence. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm talking about extrapolating completely different ideas and trying to put them together and form creativity of, putting all sorts of different ideas in sort of like a randomized way, but making them cohesive and make sense.
Yeah.
And it did it. It really, kind of knocked my socks off. I was like, wow, these are really, really good random scene generators. And I'm excited to see how some of these, engines like Sora 2, which you'll talk about in a little bit here, or Google Veo 3 or Kling, I want to see how these engines are going to do with these random scenes. So I was very happy with that. I wanted to compare it against Sonnet 4, but they shut that down already. They're like, nope,
Oh,
you
really?
have 4 and 5, your old version's gone.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
on the paid side of things, you might be able to still
Yeah.
access it, but I know I
I
can't.
think I do. It says older. Yeah, I have Opus Sonnet. Yeah, I have all the way back to Haiku 3.5. So
Okay.
it's, yeah, it gives you those options, but
That's good
you
to
know,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
hey, if
they
you
are
got the better
available.
one, when do we ever go back? Except for like Kling 1.6, I think that's the only time we would ever really
Right.
go
Yeah.
back when we didn't like 2.1. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. But
But I also then I gave it I really wanted to push it. Now I've been struggling a little bit with my own creativity here, with a music video for a song that's the most important song to my band with our album
mhm.
that came out. And I can only think of just things that are very surface level of like, somebody who's, alone in their room and, overwhelmed by the world and, not to get too deep in the lyrics, but I uploaded the lyrics as a PDF and I said, "Hey, give me 3 different music video treatments to this
Mm.
based
Okay.
upon the lyrics." So I, used it as an ideation platform, and it gave me 3 different treatments that were similar to the lyrics, but adjacent enough that they were creative and not, I don't want to beat somebody over the head with the imagery. I want them to think about it a little bit with the imagery that I'm producing in the video and have it expand upon what the lyrics originally gave me. And that's what it did, is it gave me 3 different scenes that I thought were fantastic. And I said, all right, in each of these treatments, I want an example of 10 different scenes. So it ended up giving me 30 different scenes
Oh,
and,
wow.
10
Okay.
each one.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's go with treatment number 1. And now let's write a prompt for Google Veo 3 and let's write a separate prompt for Kling 2.5 Turbo.
Okay.
And one of the things that Sonnet bragged about was its understanding of each of the latest programs that are out there
hmm
and how to write specifically for these programs to maximize the usage of these programs.
Okay. Okay.
So that is definitely something I saw. It actually understood that, hey, Veo 3 Fast or Veo 3 is going to have a little bit of audio direction as well.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's making it for Runway or a program that doesn't have audio, it doesn't include it. So I was like, okay, that's smart, to that next step. And it did a really good job for me. I was really happy. It gave me some kind of motivation to continue working on this creative endeavor of mine and continue to go down specific rabbit holes that it kind of opened up for me.
Nice. Nice.
So
Yeah, I really like Claude. I mean, it's been my go-to for creativity for quite a while. I still go to ChatGPT for more math related kind of stuff.
right.
I recently wanted to challenge. I actually this happened to me today. I use CSV files,
Yep.
output to those and then upload. And I upload to ChatGPT and it can read those files. You can also do that with Claude and
Yep.
Gemini. Guess what? Both of them failed. They weren't reading them. They were just making stuff up. I did find that
But ChatGPT didn't fail, right? You said
no, no. I
Claude
mean,
and Gemini did.
ChatGPT
Okay.
actually failed because it reversed the way it was reading lines. And I
Okay.
went down a whole day of calculations and working with the AI based off of false information. And it
I
was
hear
very
you.
disappointing. But,
Yes.
so you always have to double check and ask, how are you reading this? What is this? And check the cells and things like that. But yeah, I was very disappointed with Sonnet 4.5 today just because it's like, oh yeah, hey, this is great. And here's some information. Like, you didn't read
Yeah.
this, did you? Oh no, no, I can't read it.
Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah, at least you want it to be forthcoming and say, "Hey, I don't know what this document says," instead of just making up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
anyway,
certainly
but
frustrating.
yes, back to it, the core of it. Creativity
Yeah.
wise, you got it. It's a great platform.
Yes. Yeah. Very
It was
happy.
it was
All right.
just being super creative today.
Yeah, it was making up its own crazy stuff. So, all right, let's throw it back your way. I'm curious. I have not played with Sora 2 yet. How are you doing with it?
Yeah, well, I can't play with it either. When you go
What?
to Sora and you go to the front page, you're met with a enter invitation code. oh, thanks. And today that invitation code's up, but it's off to the side if you want to learn more. But it tells you today, well, you're using the old version. Oh, great. Click here to see the research. Well, if you want to see the research, that's fine. But if you want to participate, you still need that invitation code. And so it's not available to everybody. It's available if you download the app for Apple.
Okay.
That is where you're seeing. So we can see some results out there.
Yes.
Oddly enough, the other day I did a food comparison with
Yep.
125 and VO3, and there's with spaghetti, eating spaghetti, because that's a tough one. I did a number of different ones that are kind of tough, and in slurping that spaghetti was pretty, I think was it one, two, I forget which one did better, but it was pretty close. But one was really clear and straightforward. Where I looked at one where they had Sam Altman eating spaghetti using the new Sora 2. So it's like perfect. I'm going to use that for comparison.
For comparison,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it wasn't as good. And
Okay.
it does have that echoey, voice, and the lips don't necessarily match up. So,
Right.
I'm kind of fearful here that, they're coming out with their new thing. They better do some tweaking because they're behind Juan and VO3. Google, and here's the thing, they're all coming out with their voice thing now. We have Juan and we have Sora and the others, Kling's gonna
Thing
catch
is,
up
yep.
in a better way soon. But how long has Google VO3 been out?
It's been what, 4 or 5 months now, or maybe even a little
Yeah,
more, right?
forever in AI years. And
Yeah.
so,
It's almost
just I
almost
suspect
retired.
by the end of the year, we're going to see VO4 and it's going to drop and it's going to crush everybody. Now, I have
Yeah.
no inside information on that, but darn it, that seems about right. Everybody is
Right.
just catching up, not doing it. And going back to, remember when they teased Sora 1 and then finally released it and everybody's like, huh. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Meh.
we have others that are better, like Kling, and at the time even
Mhm.
Pika was
Mhm.
doing great. Where are you, Pika? Where are you?
I
And
know. I know.
so I think they've kind of done that again. Sora
Ouch.
2 just took so long.
Yeah.
They're not. It's kind of behind the times a little bit. I mean, they're in the top three because there are only three that are really giving you a good voice,
Audio.
mouth
Right.
connection here, in background sounds, but it's number three out of the three.
Ouch. Yeah, I mean, even their image generator earlier this year, everyone thought was, the hottest thing, and then, Nano Banana came out and absolutely destroyed it.
Crushed.
ChatGPT, I mean, they're still going to offer these other things because why not? But
Yeah.
I think they need to focus on what they do best, which is being the best LLM, the
Yeah.
best over, introduction of people to AI in general. But yeah, that's a little disappointing, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my deal. So
All
back
right.
to you.
All right. Well, MIT, where there are still some smart people, they did a study. So, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the main school I put on my list when I was a kid, and I
Hmm.
didn't quite get there, but Lawrence Tech took me, so I'll take
Well,
that.
good for them.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, they did a research paper, research study. Now, again, this is to a limited number of subjects, so I think it was really only like 20 subjects. But what they had people do was write a research paper.
Hmm.
Now, group number one could use ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Group number two could use Google. And group number three had to do traditional forms of research. I mean, really opening up a book and
Oh,
reading,
wow.
yeah, and writing it out by hand. I know this sounds like coding by typing,
Yeah.
you know.
It's horrible.
Who
Horrible.
does this? So, but
Torture.
they showed, they hooked up, all the monitors to the brain to watch brain activity.
Yeah.
And obviously, the people doing the real work, their brains firing on all cylinders all across the brain. Whereas the people using ChatGPT, it was only really the visual lobe that was firing up because they're
Mm.
visually reading the results that AI is
Right.
giving them.
Right.
And, you know, this is, at the end of the day, if you're trying to get something done and you have a tool like AI, yeah, maybe your brain's not going to work as much, but it needs to know, enough to be able to realize, is this a good output?
Yeah.
And, think about it. And this is always the analogy I put is like, before bicycles existed, how far could humans get in a day? And
Hmm.
then bicycles existed. So how far could they travel in a day? And it's like, all right, now we're all in Ferraris, so we could travel that much further,
You
but
saw
our
my last
bodies aren't
video.
right. Exactly. Our bodies are not going to be nearly as strong, but we can
Right.
travel that much further. So our brains aren't going to be nearly as strong, but we can travel much further in the day utilizing these tools. But think about 100 years ago, most of the jobs that we had to do were physical,
Yeah.
right? And so most people were generally healthy because they're working hard with their bodies, with their hands. And, we have an obesity problem. And yes, part of that is due to nutrition and different
Yep.
things and, and economics of things. If you're, not as well off, it's hard to eat well. I can go down that rabbit hole forever. But gyms existed from the 60s on
Yeah.
because the nature of work has changed so dramatically from the 60s on.
Yeah. Right.
And people who want to remain physically fit, they go to the gym to keep their bodies fit because they work all day at a desk and don't move and don't use their bodies.
Right.
And that same thing is going to happen to our brains going forward. And those who
Interesting.
want to be mentally fit, they will. They will find the ways and they will have the time, hopefully, because, in my optimistic utopian world, maybe we'll be down to a 20, 30 hour a week work week. And we'll have time in our weekly schedule, to go to the gym to keep our bodies fit, but we're also going to have time in our schedule to keep our brains fit.
Hmm.
And let's use these AI tools to sharpen our brain and sharpen our creativity. So
Yeah.
I actually asked ChatGPT to give me an IQ test today.
Oh,
And I tested it and I went through and I did okay. All right. So I'm above,
you
I
made
don't
it
need
above the
help from,
100 mark. So
I
you're
don't
good.
need help from the government anymore, Rosh.
All right. All right.
No, I did fine, but it was very disappointing to me just how hard it was to do. There was a question about like if 5 liters of fluid had a 40% concentration of alcohol in it, how much fluid would you have to add to get it down to a 25% concentration of alcohol?
Okay.
And I'm sitting here trying to do 5 divided by or multiple times 0.4. And I know the answer's 2, but I'm like, why can't I figure this out? And I'm like, I'm happy I'm doing this because it's a mental
Yeah.
exercise. But I'm like, man, I would just turn to ChatGPT to ask. And this is stuff that, 8th grade Bryon can handle. And,
Hmm.
I got to calculus and calculus 2 and all these different things. And it's like, man, now that I have these tools, I need to be doing these kind of mental acumen tests to, maybe to increase my vocabulary or to be able to do actual basic arithmetic easier.
Right.
And, are we going to use these AI tools to help get you stronger and get you there because they're going to understand you and your answers better than, maybe even a modern day tutor could or anything.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know. I think when you first started talking about this, my mind was, going pretty quickly about, hey, there's a lot of things you could create to help people out with that because you're right.
Right.
I think this is totally right on. And I find that in some of my work. And that's why I certainly make sure I challenge the AIs and try to look at different ways and think of new ways and new angles to ask questions and really
Nice.
push the AI. And when I'm doing that, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling alert. I'm feeling awake. I'm feeling like I got brain cells. But when I'm just like, oh, just give me 1,000 words on this topic. I just need it for whatever. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
just kind of a Homer Simpson, a little something on in the side of my mouth, just drooling,
While the
waiting for it to
nuclear
be
plant
over.
collapses.
Yeah, nothing really. Yeah, nothing's happening. Things may, little synapse jumping on my ear. It's just a horrible thing when I have to do too much of that as part of my work. But when I can really challenge it and think things through, and
Yeah.
especially on the math side, I think it's good. So I think you're absolutely right. I think the study's great, and I think that we will have some resources. It should. I mean, I think it's a smart thing for people to start creating right now. Resources for people just to challenge. I mean, we have games and we have things that, I think people will start to do if they feel like they're starting to
Yeah.
lose a few brain cells. But yeah, good thoughts. And I think yeah, there's some solutions there. But people,
Yeah.
just like going to the gym, you have to show up.
You got to show up. You got to be motivated.
Yeah.
What if everything's so easy and you have the answers to everything? Why are you going to be motivated even to work on your critical thinking?
Yeah.
And, maybe some government regimes are hoping that'll happen.
Maybe.
So, us as citizens, we need to stay smarter and use these tools to stay sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, all right, throwing it back your way here. Let's bring it on home and AI to bridge the gap. What do you got?
Yeah, so I was talking with a friend networking partner, and owns a garage, and he's talking about he's how he's using AI, and he's a smart guy, and I know he's been using AI, but he really expanded on what he's been doing and spending a lot of time. I mean, he does some work on his garage, but mostly he has people working within the garage. But so he works on marketing, he works on trying to make things better and recruitment and so forth. But he said, I'm spending about maybe 40% of my time with AI and plugging things in. He's like, I don't know how to code, but it's so easy to be able to just plug stuff in and information in. And there there's a shortage of mechanics out there. And we're trying to bring in new mechanics, but they have
Right.
a big knowledge gap. And so he's just creating tools to help bridge those knowledge gaps. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of tool for this? What do we have in stock? What, all that stuff at their fingertips. And he's like, at the beginning, they're like, this is kind of stupid. But now he's like, they're all using it all the
It's
time.
great.
It
Yeah.
just to bridge that. So everybody is kind of, in a sense, at an even playing field. Everybody knows how to do things the way they do it in that garage, and the tools and the capabilities and the availabilities all
Yeah.
right there at their fingertips. And it's obvious it's making him a better service to do
Hmm.
that. And if you think about it, there's a lot of ways in which you can do that if you have new people. Because if you really think about it, what are they talking about? They're talking about how entry level jobs are no good or no more. I mean, as we grow, I mean, you're going to have a senior person who doesn't need all the junior people around him anymore. There's a study
Right.
recently just talking about that. Just really all you need is that senior person who's asking the questions and understands what the good result is. However, if you need some other people, maybe with a different focus and so forth, you again can build out different ChatGPTs, or just develop a database or develop a proprietary system that can bring people up to speed quickly. So we're past that entry level stuff, and we're into, okay, I'm the beginning of a senior person in this area, and I have all the tools that I need to get
Yeah.
going. And I think that's where we're all just going to need to be. You either you plug in and be the, as we continuously been saying, the creative AI director or the AI director. You just got to be in with that. I mean, and that's it. And there you go. I mean, this is coming over the next few years, but it's coming faster than I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
understand. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
and what I love it because you hear a lot of people using AI for like onboarding a client, programs like Scribe and stuff like that. But this is not even just onboarding, it's providing continuous support for someone.
Yes.
And
Right.
and this is an area that actually I can relate to a lot. I mean, I was in a previous life here. I was a service manager down at a Ford dealership for 8 years.
Hmm.
So, that really opened my eyes of ways that, yeah, you can definitely provide support to these mechanics where sometimes it's overwhelming to get into a shop and be like, oh, I'm working at Ford now, or I'm working, and I'm
Hmm.
fixing high end, even if it's like somebody working on BMWs and stuff like that. There's an intimidation level of the knowledge gap.
Right.
And to be able to support your new people, it means that they don't start walking, they start running.
Yeah. And you don't even
Exactly.
have to be brand new to being a mechanic. It's just, to your point, new to that service, new to
Right.
that vehicle, new to that location. And what is it you do provide? And what are your capabilities in having all that right there?
Yeah.
Certainly,
I
you're
mean,
right. You jump right in.
yeah, I mean, with the use case stuff, and again, I was excited that you were going to mention this because myself being a DIYer, I'm looking at my zero turn mower right now, and I'm looking at a $350 bill to bring it to the shop to get maintenance for oil
Hmm.
change, check on each of these things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just open up my chat GPT, the video thing. I'm going to put it on a tripod so it can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to have a conversation with my video chat GPT
Yeah.
and say, all right, here's this part, here's that. What else do I need? And, go by step and have it be just, and help me continue to be a confident DIYer.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that with a few things, and it has been extremely useful in many different ways. So, yeah, it's going to continue. I mean, and yeah, he was even talking about the glasses and being able to, because we
Hmm.
have a friend Tony who does that in the manufacturing world, and now it's becoming more and more common where you can just plug in all the details for every car into the glasses, and you can just look at a electrical panel of some sort, and they'll just tell you what everything is and what needs to be done.
Yeah. And let's give a shout out to our super fan, Tony, there. I know he's always listening and giving good comments on YouTube.
He
We
does.
appreciate you, Tony, if you're hearing it.
Yeah, he does. He's great.
So,
So,
all right. I think we crossed everything we need to cross here today. How are you feeling?
uh, good. I think we got it covered, and more stuff's coming out. We had a whole
Yep.
bunch in the last couple weeks, and a little lull right now, but I know everybody is ready to start releasing into the holiday season, I think, and
Yeah.
so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, I like it. All right, well, we appreciate you all listening. If you've watching this on the YouTube channel and you've watched this far, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next week. Until then, we are two creative guys talking AI.
Talk to you next week.